Hi everyone, I'm just going to get Paul on and here we go. Paul, how are you? Join. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have this chance to chat with you tonight. And the reason why is I was talking about this with somebody today. And when it came to the support worker store, it was actually I started by following your group in Facebook first before I even thought about doing the support worker store.
Yeah,
So I've got to
cool.
say thank you. I don't know if I ever told you that.
No, that was really cool. Thank you very much. That's good to know.
Yeah, that's fine. That's probably where it all started. All right, so to start this, to get the ball rolling, how did you start? Like, how did you start Action and Intent?
Look, I don't know if this is common for business coaches or anything like that, but I came from a completely different industry to start with. I actually have been a tradesman. I've had a renovations business for about 20 years, and I'd been working with a business coach myself, and I really loved what I did. And then we did really cool things, and then people started saying, hey Paul, can you help me with my business, because you did really well with yours? And that just sort of became like I was just helping friends and friends of friends. And then I thought, well, I actually really enjoy this. I should probably learn how to do it properly. So got some qualifications and did some training. But then I just found my passion for coaching and helping people in that sort of space just really overtook what we were doing in the renovation space. And I just dove into it full time. And it got to this point where I realized that it was so much more rewarding to help somebody who's helping somebody else than it was to help a mechanic buy his second boat. So it was just this point of being in the disability aged care space. It was definitely a learning curve. This was, a few years of going, oh, wow, this is completely different. And getting my head around all the stuff. But it was so rewarding for me to go in and help people that are actually doing such good work and delightful.
So how long all up have you been like a coach for in this NDIS space?
So since about 2020 in NDIS. So this is my fifth year in this sort of a space. And that's really when NDIS was rolling out in WA. That was very, very new then. And we were lockdowns and, all that sort of stuff. And so I just started online, and you couldn't go and meet people. It actually took off in Queensland first. So most of the people who were logging on for our workshops and all that sort of stuff were primarily from Queensland and then Melbourne, and then Perth started to catch on as the NDIS started to grow. So we started running some in-person workshops here as well.
So I was just going to touch on that too. So at the moment, you're a busy person, so it's really hard to keep you down and figure out where you are on Earth, like where you are in Australia this week. So what in-person workshops and stuff have you got coming up?
A fair bit. So first of all, we do a lot of stuff online, and we also try and do online and in person at the same time where possible, bandwidth permitting. But for instance, in next week, February 20th, we've actually started doing quarterly intensives every quarter. And the reason for that is I was doing these intensives every quarter with my clients, and they were just so powerful to really look at, what are we doing for the next 12 months? So we thought, why don't we just take this out and get a bundle of people involved in it? So that's what we've done. So we're doing that in Perth on February 20th. We've got a beautiful spot overlooking the ocean in Scarborough at the rendezvous there. And we've got a heap of people in the room, but we're also running it online as well. So there's that. We've got the coming up in May, which is going to be brilliant, over on the Gold Coast. We're expecting around 50 to 60 providers in the room there, which is going to be brilliant. And then we've also got intensives later throughout the year. I've got a couple of pop-ups planned, but I can't tell everybody right now when they are, because they're going to be like last-minute drops. Hey, if you're in this city, because I've got a bit of travel coming up soon, we're going to be doing some really, really high-value stuff locally as well.
You're going to tell me?
I will let some of my good friends like yourself know a little bit earlier, because let's see if I'll be in Melbourne and we can catch up and have some fun with that.
Well, Like when it comes to coaching and with all what that you offer, a lot of people think that you've got to be quite big, but you've actually have worked with people that are small and then been able to scale themselves up and grow. Have you? So when people are watching this and they will watch it back, they're going to think that when it comes to a business coach, I have to be a certain size. Is that like true? Is it false? Like how does it work?
Look, I guess I'm biased. I think that everybody needs a coach or a mentor or an input of some description, right? And there's many different forms of coaching. Yeah, I've worked with businesses from, startup or close to startup. Maybe they're sort of about $10,000 a month, which is really a really good independent support worker. Like they're really cranking it at that point, right? And they've got maybe a bit of a help. All the way up, we're working with businesses that are sort of doing 20 million plus a year. And so that range is quite large, but what you find is that there's actually gaps where businesses they just have the same problem at that stage of business. So we identified that pretty quick, and we started out with a program called Momentum, which was really just to help new businesses get the ball rolling. And it was just, don't worry about paid ads, don't worry about your website, just basically identify who you help really well, help them really well, tell everybody how well you help them, and leads come. And to be honest, we did that with like about 300 providers. And a lot of those guys were just going, this is absolutely amazing. Now we've grown, what do we do next? And so then we built Profitable Provider, which was the next level of coaching for those guys as well.
So with your coaching, what has been the take, like what has been your win? Like when you've seen a person, a provider grow a business, what has been that win that makes you go, like how exciting?
Look, there's a bundle of really cool wins. And like I've had clients DM me going, hey, Paul, in the last 6 months, my business has doubled in size and I brought on a manager and I've booked my holiday and that sort of thing. But aside from all the business growth stuff, one of our guys, Stevie, she might blush if she hears me talking about this, but she said I could if I wanted to, so I am. She'd been absolutely slamming it for the last 11 months in her business, and she had been in watching the videos and doing stuff, and finally said, hey, Paul, can we work together? Because I'm just so stressed out. I haven't spent time with my family. We haven't had our holiday. We had to cancel it. I'm working every night. And she sent me a photo of all like 3 laundry baskets, which was all the clothing she had stored at her sill houses that she was now bringing home because in the last month she's managed to take herself off the floor to run the business, and she's found the right staff to do the night shifts. Honestly, I feel like I've helped a family, not just a business. The fact that she's
like a full,
actually being able to enjoy that. Yeah, it's being able to enjoy actually just having time with the family and having a clear enough head to do that, because goodness knows running a business takes up so much of your brain space. You can miss everything else that's going on, and that sucks.
Do you love it?
I love what I do. I feel like the luckiest person in the world.
Yeah. Not many people get to say that. It's cool that you can.
Yeah, look, it's brilliant.
So when you're not running your coaching business and stuff, you're also in a podcast. You sleep?
Yeah, so
tell us about the podcast that you run.
Yes. So I co-host a podcast called the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast with the amazing Tanya Gomez. And we started that after a coffee catch-up, basically. We just wanted to get as much education out into the industry as possible that wasn't going to cost anybody anything. And no matter where you were in business, whether you're a startup or running, you've got 5,000 clients, you would get value from it at wherever stage you were. So we just thought, well, I think the simplest way to do that is just start a podcast. So we dove into it, did 10 episodes and thought, well, I hope that's helpful for someone. Lo and behold, we were at like 80,000 downloads. And it was just this steamroller going, when's the next episode's coming out? Oh, okay, we'll get some more together. So it just kind of grew from there. And the really cool thing that I love about it, I met up with a guy just recently who said, we now have in our onboarding like 5 episodes as mandatory listening for our staff. And so
wow.
he told me the numbers of the episodes that he makes the
Yep.
staff listen to so they really understand what they care about and what's important to them. And it was just, I'm amazed it's such a cool resource for people.
Yeah, and you didn't even plan it, just came naturally. That's probably what the most beautiful thing, that it's natural. As you're meeting and you're coaching and you've got the podcast and you've got all this stuff going on, if you could pinpoint one mistake as a provider or an independent would make in business when it comes to this sector?
And it's the one mistake. Look, I'm going to give you two.
All right, because I'm happy with that.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna talk about businesses that are under $1 million and businesses that are over $1 million.
Yeah,
okay? And that's in yearly revenue. Just because it really does. That's kind of like a big turning point for a business to hit that benchmark. But I see too many providers. So this is for the small providers that are under $1 million, under $1 million a year, trying to do what the big providers are doing and think it works. Right. Number one. They think I've got to be all over social media. I've got to be running ads. I've got to help everyone, right? And they just try and do what they see the big providers doing, and it's not. It's about helping one person and finding that one ideal client that you can just absolutely do something amazing for, and then multiples of that one, right? For businesses over $1 million, the big mistake, to be honest, is quite often over administrating in their business. So then they get to the point where they need all this extra stuff and they go, why is there no profit margin? Well, it is a tight profit margin business to run as it is. But so often people are just hiring people too fast. They go, right, I need a HR manager and I need a rostering clerk and a client concierge and I need all this sort of stuff. For anybody that's at that stage and you think you might be over administered, think about this. You need exactly what you need to provide awesome services. Everything else can be automated or delegated, right? And so most providers are not using their software systems anywhere near as much as they should be. And I know people who are employing people to do a job that they're paying $100 a month for a software to do, but it's not doing it.
10%, totally agree. And I think we've actually discussed this before, because there have been times that I have used social media to do ads and they've kind of flopped, but I realized that it was more in person and more one-to-ones that I got more from networking and getting out and about, that I actually got better when it came to business. So when I was trialing and testing, especially for the support worker store, that I gained more from being present. And that's a skill set in itself. When you do your coaching, do you assist people how to be more present? Because it's not just social media, it's not just any of that. It is being in these type of meetings and having these type of networking opportunities.
Yeah, look, especially for that starter business. Like if someone is watching this and they're going I've got one client or no clients or whatever it is, you don't need to talk to everyone. You don't need to help everyone. Know what your skill set is and where that adapts in the industry. Like maybe you've got experience working with, teens with autism to help them be more independent and take pressure off the family. Maybe that is when you think about that's my niche, right? Well, you don't need to go and talk to 20 nurses or BDMs or whatever. You need to find other people in that space. You need to find people that are going, I'm really passionate about teens with autism and they have a certain type of service that they offer and you might collaborate on something. But again, people just get into this idea of if I just throw myself out online, somebody will see me and someone will go, I need that. To be honest, and this might be a kick in the teeth for a lot of people listening, but every service provider looks exactly the same on Facebook.
I agree. I get that quite. Actually, I do get this. A lot of people do ask me, what are you doing differently when it comes to social media? And I have to explain this. Actually, it's a multiple of different things. On social media, because I'm not a provider, I have to turn up, right? So every day it's a different content that I'm putting, but I also have to be present and turn up to networking meetings and talk to people that I wouldn't expect to. I've been able to create relationships because of networking, because going to events and, engaging with people like yourself, Paul. So it is important to be present. You can't underrate that, especially in this sector, because it's a people sector. So there's this expectation that you have to be present for people, and the best way to be present for people is to physically turn up.
Physically be in the room with people, yeah. It's
And then,
so underrated, I think, in this space of just actually being in the room with people who
yeah,
are like-minded with you. You know, again, like as soon as you get out from behind the computer, as you get out and actually have these meetings, people just start seeing their businesses grow because they actually
yeah,
also, on the flip side of that, don't rock up and say, "Hey, have you got any referrals for me?" But it's
yeah,
it's
yes,
that
I
that's
agree with
rule
that completely.
147 of anybody that's in profitable provider. They're not allowed to say that, right? But it's
I
just really relationships are just real.
And the good thing is that I have actually met you in person, so it's not just all online. You are quite approachable. So if anyone is at any of these events, they can come up and say hi. I know for a lot of people when they first start out, they're quite shy and a bit intimidated by it all because it can be quite big. And then especially if you see who's present and in the room, and there's some really cool people in our sector that are doing some really amazing things.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that it could be quite overwhelming to approach. Yep. But you are Paul, and you're definitely ready to say hi. That's the
Oh, look,
feeling that I get.
if you see me at one of my events or somebody else's events or anything like that, please walk up and say hi because I'm an introvert as well. All
Yep.
right. So, I'm more than happy for anyone to come up and say hi to me. So that'll
Yep.
break the ice for the start. But number two, I love hearing people's stories about what they're doing. I love
Yep.
hearing about the cool stuff you did with your clients. I genuinely love every minute of it.
No one talks about this, but it's actually really fun. Like when you hear the wins that are going on and what people are doing, because I know that in some narratives, a lot of people want to talk badly about the NDIS and all that stuff, but there's some people doing some really cool things that
Really
we don't hear
cool
enough about.
things.
Yeah, this is why I love doing these interviews because I'm really nosy, Paul, and I like to hear what people are doing and like what they're bringing and what value they're bringing to the table because
Yeah.
it is completely different to ever before. People are getting more than ever before, so I find this stuff really fun. Maybe I'm an NDIS geek in that sense. So with all your things that you got going on, and I know you talked a little bit about that you've got some secret squirrel business going on. What is next for your company? Like, where are you going next with it? Is it, and are you allowed to share it?
So we've got some other people coming on this year because we've really grown quite a lot. My main focus is making sure that my clients get exactly what they need. And so
Yep.
I've had to get really, really clever with content creation because I don't want to spend all my time doing that. So if you
Yeah.
see me everywhere, I spend a very little time and we just make it explode with like
Yep.
a lot of software. So we spend a lot of time working with my clients, developing content for them, working with them on their businesses. And so we actually need some help. And so I've got some guys coming in who I've got a coach, another coach
Yep.
coming in to work on particularly mindset and development in that sort of a space. And somebody else is coming on, particularly in that startup phase
Yep.
to give us a bit more of a hand around how they promote and advertise. And so that's that's the big thing that I can sort of say that's happening this year. The other thing we're doing is not relevant to NDIS
Yep.
specifically, but it
Ooh.
is for disability in general.
Yep. Cool. Well, I'm excited. But to be clear, you actually started with just you, which was number one. Yep.
Just
And then you've been
me.
able to expand your team.
Yes. So it's me. I've got an amazing team of virtual assistants in
Yep.
the Philippines. Jade, all my clients know Jade. She is my right hand woman, and she basically runs my life. And she's got a fantastic team that do a lot of our background work and make me
Yep.
appear everywhere, even though I may not be.
Yep. She does a very good job because even you in the past have caught me off guard going, oh, you did this. And you're like, did I? And I'm like, oh, it's on schedule. And I didn't realize
Yes.
that it was all on schedule.
Yes.
Yeah. The importance, but you've touched on a really good topic, and I didn't even have this planned, but you've got a VA. I'm like, for me, I have used them in the past, but I haven't been consistent with my VA. Can you give me any hot tips, like how you can use them in an NDIS business? Like, how can they help you to get to the next couple of levels?
Yeah, yeah. So one big mistake that I see people doing when they bring on a virtual assistant in an NDIS business is primarily they think that they understand the NDIS, or they think that they have the information that's inside your head, because what's natural and obvious to you is not natural and obvious to the next person,
Yep.
whether they're in the Philippines, America, or Australia. And so it's a matter of creating the system for it to work. And so, whether if you're handing off rostering or something like that, you create the system first.
Yep.
Don't ask someone to create the system for you. Okay, that's the number one thing to winning it. But the second one is just having a process for communication. So every Monday at 10 a.m., Jade and I get on a 1-hour Zoom call. We look at what we're doing for the week. We look at what happened last week. We go through the stuff that she and her team have done. We check off things. She gets approval on things. I tweak things. And then we meet up on a Wednesday to look at some other mechanics of the things that we do with my clients specifically. Yep. And it's just this process that we stay in contact.
Yep.
Right. We've been through a few different platforms we use. But primarily it's Telegram for messaging and a spreadsheet for projects, and that's pretty much it.
How simple is that? It doesn't actually have to be so over the top. A lot of people think that when you've got over the top systems, even CRMs, it actually can be quite simplified. It doesn't have to be so complex. I think we just 100%. Add those layers in, and that's what kills us at half the time. But you did talk about it before, and I'm sorry if I keep going back and forth because our time together, I like to get all your knowledge, Paul, pretty much. So pretty much, it's not just a conversation for everybody on Instagram. It's a conversation that Sarah, so I know what I'm doing for my business. You talked a bit about CRMs and automation in your time, and you talked also before about having different ones. It is trial and error. Can you give us any wins every time that you've been able to upscale and move system? Like, has it made significant differences to your business?
Yeah, so CRMs are a bit of a stumbling block for a lot of people, I think, in the NDIS. Obviously, for my business, I don't use ShiftCare or Ezanga or anything.
Yeah.
That's not what I need for my business. For my business, I use a program actually that we've white labeled called Reconnect Pro, and it's a all-in CRM for the type of work I do, primarily front-end marketing. And people in our program, Profit Provider, get to use that as part of their membership. So they have like automation for social media and email. And, one of my clients is building a membership for their staff to go in and upscale, and they got their in-house training. And some clients have their phone set up so that all of their staff use their own phone, but the app on it has a separate number for work. And so all these things just continue to build up. Whatever you're using, you need to kind of treat it like an employee. So if you treat your software you're using like an employee, it's now an investment, right?
Yeah.
Because some people say, oh, that software costs so much money. Yes, but when you pay for that software, what does the software do? Right?
Yeah.
If it removes time from you having to actually do the thing manually, then that's an investment for your business.
Yeah.
So, the big thing there is not when you sort of get to the point of going, I'm doing too much, it's probably your software you might need to upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
100%.
One really quick analogy on that. I had a client, they were doing about 20 hours a week in roster shuffling, right? It's not just the roster, but the shuffling. Like, oh, I want to change this shift, or, I can't make that one, or the client has to go to hospital, so they don't need the worker that day, and all that sort of stuff. 20 hours a month, and that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so that was really stopping them from doing the next thing they wanted to do, right? They wanted to get out and actually, the type of work they did, they wanted to do some training with people with disabilities and families. They wanted to get out to networking meetings, but they were just 20 hours a month is a lot. And so we just looked at it and go, hang on, you're using this software, ShiftCare at the time. They realized that if they went up to the next level, they could actually have it automated inside of the app. So when they go, right, I can't make that shift, it automatically knew who was paid already for that shift at that client and those times, and allocated it to them and checked in all that sort of stuff. So his time investment went from 20 hours a week to 20 hours a month to 4 hours a month on that same task. He gained back 2 days of work in a month for the cost of, I think, a couple of $100.
Like, that must make you feel good, because it must be something that you get to say, hey, if you change X, Y, and Z, this is what could happen. And for a lot of people, like especially in business, because for me in particular, I think that sometimes it gets so overwhelming. And just having that person to say, Sarah, hold the phone one moment. If you did this, or you change your processes this way, you'd actually do that. And I take it that you're an old hat at this now, that you're 5 years in and you've been a coach before. So when you do all these changes and stuff like that, what, like, besides the 20 hours and the 4 hours, is there anything else that you could, like, tell me about a win? Like, when it came to changing, like, because you've been able to see it, having those new eyes and fresh eyes on something?
Well, for those guys, they've been stuck at that same point in their business for about 12 months. And within 6 months, their business doubled just because they
Oh,
were
wow.
able to be present and not just in the mud. They were able to think creatively, to be honest, because when you're running a business, money, staff, clients, all that sort of stuff, and you don't have margin to be creative with how you do things, you just get into a rut. And so there's no new. And when the NDIS changes, that's just another thing you've got to deal with. And so one of the first things we do with all of our clients is actually just work on their calendar. Like, where are you wasting time? Let's solve that. And usually we free up like a whole day a week just to get started with. Which
Just
that's
like that.
the big enough win for most people that can be, they go, oh my God, that's awesome. But then what they can do with that time is usually the catalyst for the next stage that they're going to go into. And so that's the big win that I love seeing, is going, oh, now I can do this or do that, or now I can finally go on that holiday with my family that I put off for the last 12 months or whatever it is, right?
I should tell you of a win. I've got one for you, Paul. In the beginning, probably a year or so, when you asked me to join one of your sessions and I got to deliver, it was then that I had the taste in my mouth going, I'm actually not bad at this education and teaching people. So I've never thanked you, but thank you for that, because it was actually the beginning, in my sense, when it came to the support worker store, to actually growing and pivot, because I was doing mugs and notebooks and stuff. And then I went into a bit more content that was more educational. So didn't tell you that.
No, that's really cool. Thank you very much. I think this sort of stuff fuels me to just keep going. I absolutely love it. But I saw the stuff you were doing and I go, this is really, really helpful. And I'm very upfront. I've never run a support business, right? And so I'm always looking for people that are just doing really cool things and really get a specific area to come in and talk to our crew about what they're doing, because, you know, again, like, we see people just going, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, but they get some more information and go, oh, I could do that, right? And
it's a light bulb moment. It was literally, I was like, I remember afterwards going, I know how to talk about this, and I can talk about this for a very long time, and I like talking too, and my business doesn't have to be what I thought it was. So isn't it funny that it's only these little itsy bitsy things that, like, make things grow? So you're definitely a coach in that sense.
No, I love it. I love it. And your light bulb moment made light bulb moments for others as well.
And it's these small little impacts that we don't see at the time, but actually make the very big picture. And that's what it, like, support as well, that having the right support worker in play with an NDIS participant makes a hell of a biggest difference. And I will always say that a support worker is your best marketing person, because the person that turns up and they got what they wanted, and that's, I think, better than quality, really. So as time is going and the NDIS is changing so rapidly and so crazy and all that stuff, do you have any predictions for, let's just say, the next couple of months?
Look, I am always wary about saying predictions because I've been called a fearmonger and I've been called all sorts of things for certain things. Look, I'm all right.
I've been told I'm too happy.
I like learning from the past to predict the future. And, you know, we've seen things like what's happened in the RTO space for training organizations. We've seen, you know, changes happening in aged care and education. We can anticipate some things. And, like, for instance, the NDIS started with this idea of, let's throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Right now, they're looking at what stuck and they're going, right, that stuck, that fell off. And so that's why we're seeing massive changes at the moment. We're seeing registration becoming a big point. I would suggest that mandatory registration is going to be across the board for everybody within the next little while. One of our requirements in Profitable Provider is that whether you're registered or not, you operate as though you are. So when you're ready to do that, it's not a difficult process, and it's not actually that difficult a process. Yeah, that's it. And understanding that the government is going to ask you to show your work. You know, and there's a whole bundle of stuff around Liberal versus Labor and the NDIS and all that sort of stuff. No matter who it is, it will just expedite the process if it's one or the other. But the government's going to call every provider to account. The money that's been spent on you, prove it was worth it. And so need to be able to show your work. And so for providers that are measuring goals and case studies of their clients and being able to prove progression, that's great. But to be honest, if you're just there to get a paycheck and be on your phone and just get the funds in, you're really going to struggle.
I think they will get
just the way it is.
out.
Yeah,
absolutely. It will. I believe that those type of providers and independents will get weeded out, and that's because quality. There's an expectation and a level, but I think on a personal level, if you got a choice, and I've had this car, right? So if I had a choice of being a Hyundai XL or a Ferrari, I'd want to be the Ferrari. So I think it should be that. Like, you'd want to be that, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you want those next levels? I find it mind-blowing.
Yeah, look, the one thing that I think is really important to remember, if this is something that sticks in your listeners' heads, is things are going to get harder, and that's awesome because less people do it when it's harder. Okay?
Yep.
So if you are flexible, you create that margin to be creative in how you do what you do, and you show your work, you'll be there even when it's hard. You'll be able to pivot and that sort of thing. But if you are set in your ways and this is all you want to do and that's it, you're going to find it too hard to just keep going.
I can recall that, especially with the RTO space, when that changed, those that stayed in their ways that weren't able to develop and grow as they went got left behind. I 100% agree. But also, if you're willing to turn up for the people that we serve every day, and rain, hail, or shine, it does pay dividends, and you become, I believe, a provider of quality.
That just breeds it breeds referrals, to be honest, because people just see what's happening, but it breeds trust. It really helps people know that these guys just turn up and they do the job and they get results, and people see that. And when people don't see that, that's when you don't get the referrals and you don't build trust and people leave. And so it's just this cycle. People. It's really easy to be in. Yeah,
that's simple. Buy off people. That's that trust. 100%. Now, if anyone's got any questions, or if you've got any questions too, Paul, go ahead. Crank it out.
I've watched your journey at Support Work Store and what you've been doing, and like the journals and all that sort of stuff. And you've been helping so many people with so much training. And I'll be honest, I really love the slides you've been bringing out and the rundowns, because you put it into straightforward language for a lot of people. Yep. What's next for you?
I'm telling you. That's actually top secret. But I am working on a project right now that I'm very excited about. And I've just got to do a few more things before I can release it. And it's quite big.
Yeah.
It is very big. And it has taken a lot of work to do. And if it's as successful as I'm hoping, and like if I think I've got my fingers on the pulse of this one, it'll be a game changer, 100%. So yeah. So I've got that going on, but also I think for me, I will continue with those slides, because we talk about easy English for the people that we serve, but I need it too, because I'm dyslexic as hell, and I need to be able to understand the information coming in, and it can be really complicated. Like, it is in jargon to me. So trying to get it out of jargon into some slides that I can actually understand and say, right, this is what they mean. I feel like that helps people level up. And 100%. As business owners, a lot of us come as support workers. We don't have a business background because we were really good at providing care, and we just got that hunger and desire because one day we thought, you know what, I could do better than this, and we jump up to that next level. I wanted to make sure to make it even and make it fair for people to understand what is happening. I love that stuff.
I love that. And you heard it here first, folks. There's something big on the horizon as well.
I've actually,
That's it. Recenter.
Compose myself.
Yes. Awesome.
All I had for tonight. Thank you so much for joining on my platform for a change instead of the other way around.
Thank you so much for having me. I love doing this sort of thing. And as I said, like I love what you're doing. As soon as you said, "Hey, Paul, come on this," I was like, "Yes."
I'm so nosy, Paul, to be honest. Like, I love seeing what people are doing and what they bring to the space. And that's why I love these type of interviews, because it shows what's going on, because it's not just with certain areas. Like, you can expand it, you can be niche, and you can do some really cool stuff in the betweens.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, if you do see me at an event or anything like that and you're doing something out of the box and creative, I want to know about it, because I love that stuff. There's really cool stuff happening.
Come say hi to me. I'm a people person. I will talk to anybody. I am probably not an introvert. Yeah, I like to be present, and I enjoy hearing all the stories that are going on. 100%.
Awesome. I love it.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you so much. It was awesome. Have a good one.
See you, mate. Bye.